Movie overhype is a very dangerous thing. Sometimes it pays off, admittedly, but more often than not, it can result in us fans expecting big things, only for those elements that we were looking forward to having barely any impact on a movie at all. And with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 hyped movie characters that did absolutely nothing. Number 8, Sally Hardesty, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 wanted a bit of that sweet, sweet Halloween pie. After already trying to do this trick once, it was announced that the recent Netflix installment was going to be a direct sequel to the original movie, picking up in the modern day when a group of kids accidentally unleash an aged Leatherface. This catches the attention of original survivor and final girl Sally Hardesty, who, a lot like Laurie Strode, has spent decades preparing to get revenge on her tormentor. Unlike Laurie though, Sally in this movie is a total idiot, and completely wasted to boot. She turns up, foolishly gets killed and discarded by Leatherface, and ultimately gets no resolution or even the chance to impact the plot. Genuinely, if you were a fan looking forward to her inclusion, the treatment of her as a character is borderline insulting. Horror can be particularly harsh to returning or hyped characters, so let me know in the comments which ones burnt you. I know there's definitely a good few out there for me. Number 7, Lucifer Saffin, No Time to Die. With No Time to Die marking the end of Daniel Craig's tenure as James Bond, it was important for 007 to go out with a bang. As such, it was imperative that the spy franchise's 25th installment cooked up a terrific story, incredible action sequences, and of course, a masterful villain. And on the surface, No Time to Die's big bad is a formidable foe, given a horror movie-esque introduction and flexing his threatening muscle, metaphorically of course, not his literal muscles, on a global scale. However, although this prologue gets viewers immediately invested in this character, he then barely appears for the next 2 hours. And sadly, when he and Bond finally meet during the climax, he comes across as a shell of what he could have been, thanks to a weird as all hell plan that falls to bits within seconds. Considering this is the guy who defeated Blofeld, destroyed Spectre, and even, spoilers, killed James frickin' Bond, this villain should have been one for the ages, but unfortunately he's another one of Craig's lackluster villains, not the worst, but not the best either. Number 6, Gore, Thor, Love and Thunder. After the likes of Eternals and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, fans looked towards Thor, Love and Thunder and hoped it would turn everything around. And there was reason to believe as well, as not only would director Taika Waititi be back to helm the project after delivering the best Thor movie to date, but the sequel would also introduce villain Gore the God Butcher, who, as the cherry on top, would also be portrayed by Batman himself, Christian Bale. So, even if Love and Thunder wasn't great, all signs were pointing to Gore becoming an iconic baddie in the franchise. I mean, after all, why else would Bale sign on for something that wasn't at least a little bit interesting? Well, that will actually go down as one of life's biggest mysteries, as Gore wasn't just disappointing, he was completely wasted. Gore's story arc in general is completely rushed and, worst of all, mostly happens off screen. We're told rather than shown that this guy is a force to be reckoned with, apparently managing to kill loads of gods across the realms, but you don't even get to see him murder those gods on screen, or really do anything that establishes him as such an intimidating guy. The so-called God Butcher only kills a single god on screen in the entire movie, and feels like an afterthought with the rest of the film mostly focusing on bad improv. Number 5, Snoke, Star Wars The Last Jedi. When Star Wars The Force Awakens drew to a close, there were many questions left unanswered. However, one of the most pertinent issues was the identity of the First Order's supreme leader, Snoke. Little was given away about Kylo Ren's master, encouraging fans to devise all sorts of theories surrounding him, and we know how that turned out. Leading up to the release of The Last Jedi, the Star Wars community was still speculating about the Sith's true identity. For one, was he even a Sith? Was he Darth Plagueis, the Grand Inquisitor, someone from the Star Wars games or novels, or a completely new character? Well, in the end, Snoke's backstory was irrelevant in the second movie and then trodden all over in the third movie. That's because halfway through The Last Jedi, Kylo Ren abruptly kills his master before anything is even revealed about him. The Sith Lord was built up as the overarching antagonist of the new Star Wars trilogy, and yet he went out like a chump. Well, at least he gave us that iconic spunk line before he left. Number 4, Venom Spider-Man 3. Although Topher Grace's casting as Venom threw everyone off initially, the awesome trailers for Spider-Man 3 seemed to put that initial skepticism to rest. Since the promos emphasized that the alien symbiote story would serve as the meat of the plot, it felt like the beloved villain would be done right. It just seemed like an easy win, and as such, fans like myself went to bed dreaming of seeing the symbiote storyline done justice. But since Venom as an actual character and not just a suit on Peter Parker is only in Spider-Man 3 for 6 minutes, no joke, Topher Grace doesn't even get a chance to do anything memorable with the role, or give the alien symbiote the threat and menace that he initially brought to the comics. And the issue is that the movie just isn't all that interested in him. Famously, director Sam Raimi didn't care for the character and treated him as a studio demand. And as such, he constructed the story to mainly revolve far more around other villains, New Goblin and Sandman, whereas Venom is only really there as extra muscle right at the very end. Number 3, most of the ensemble, Suicide Squad. David Ayer's Suicide Squad was panned for a myriad of reasons, especially with how badly it handled Jared Leto's Joker. The tattooed jester was plastered in all of the movie's promotions, giving us the impression that he would play a major role in the story instead of a glorified cameo, which was allegedly thanks to heavy editorial axes being wielded for the finished cut. However, this gripe is brought up with such regularity that it's easy to forget that Joker isn't the only one done dirty in Suicide Squad. In fact, everyone in the titular squad is pretty much wasted, save for Deadshot and Harley Quinn. Katana was set up to be a badass, and yet she has no effect on the plot. Captain Boomerang only throws 2 boomerangs in the entire film, and even one of them misses the target. All Killer Croc does is hilariously climb down a flooded sewer, and Slipknot dies almost immediately after he's introduced, so why did he feature in the posters and the commercials so much? To top it all off as well, the main villain is so mundane that most viewers probably can't even remember what he looks like, his motivation, or even his name. It's Incubus, in case you were wondering. Juggling a large ensemble is never easy, but few movies have bungled it quite more than this mess. Number 2, Adam Warlock, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Expectations were suitably astronomical for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. With it being the end of the trilogy and James Gunn promising this might be the last time we ever see at least some of the title characters, many hope that the whopping 6 years between installments would be worth it. And for the most part, it absolutely delivered. But there was one element that did not live up to the hype, and that was the introduction of Adam Warlock, played by the always lovable Will Poulter. And that stung more because initially it seemed like the director had big plans for the character. Hell, he was even teased at the end of Volume 2, but to everyone's surprise, Warlock only had 10 minutes of screen time in this 150-minute threequel. What's worse is Warlock appears in the opening sequence, giving the illusion that he might play a bigger role, but until his character appears, it's easy to forget that the Golden Gladiator is supposed to be a pivotal character at all. Although he saves Star-Lord in the climax, so he technically doesn't do completely nothing, it does feel like even this scene was inserted to give Warlock something to do. Number 1, the Dinobots, Transformers Age of Extinction. Even though Transformers 2 and 3 stunk to high heaven, fans of the series were still eager to see the 4th installment, Transformers Age of Extinction, since it would finally introduce the Dinobots. Director and explosion addict Michael Bay may not have a reputation for compelling storytelling, but there's no question that he has a gift when it comes to depicting action on an epic scale. Because of this, it felt like Bay was born to make a movie centered around robots that transform into dinosaurs. I mean, how could you get this wrong? And after seeing that shot of Optimus Prime riding a cybernetic T-Rex in all of the promos, everyone was pretty much sold, even the biggest skeptics. Sure, Age of Extinction wasn't expected to be high art, but at least it would be entertaining, and the Dinobots would be a core feature, right? Well, somehow Michael Bay screwed it up. Not only is Age of Extinction a 3-hour slog, but Prime's prehistoric allies don't even show up until the final half hour. Though it's of course cool to see them, I mean, how can it not be? The Dinobots leave such a minimal impact on the overall story that they could be removed entirely without having any real effect on the plot. And as such, in hindsight, it's obvious that these Jurassic machines were crammed into the movie solely for the marketing, and oh god, it's Venom all over again. So, that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What did you think of these much hyped characters, and are there any other times you've been let down? Let me know, and while you're down there, if you could, please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.